Jesus, man, it's like, geez, probably what about my teenage years. Like, dude has been putting in work for a long time. Man. Just, same thing with the Drunken Master. Yo, Black Nails was phenomenal. Dr. Olivia West was that was a good with Big Les. Like I spazzed out so bad in the Big Les interview, man. I did not start the show for the first 15 minutes because I was so fanned out. Yo, check out Royalty. Royalty. I had the also had the honor of interviewing Gilly's son, Trey Seven Mac. And that was his first interview after losing his brother. Definitely a very powerful conversation. Pastor Daryl Scott, Trump advisor, was an interesting interview to say the least. Uh, Yo, Brayla, oh my God, oh girl is a talent to say the least. She is extremely talented. Let me text her real quick. Yeah, I know I can't text and talk at the same time. All right. And you know what? Yeah, we were supposed to start at 7:30. So it is what it is. Things happen when it's live. You just adapt. And I'm not big on talking about too much of the news, the gossip of the day per se, because I don't pay attention to much of shit, to be quite honest. Um, and now, I don't even watch the news. Like I used to be, I used to watch the news a lot, and more specifically, I used to watch CNN a lot, and I just don't anymore. The whole war situation is that's depressing to say the least. But the fact that it just not, doesn't seem as though the news is an unbiased reporting of the facts. I don't care if you watch Fox. I don't care if you watch CNN. I don't care if you watch your local news. They're all biased in one way or the other. And the reporting on the war has been extremely one sided for one side or the other, depending on which network you're watching. And it's just, I'm tired of it. And I think a lot of us have gotten to that point as a society where it's sad. You used to feel like you had confidence in, and not that they were any different back in the 50s or the 60s or the 70s, the 80s. Um, but maybe we were more ignorant as a, but I'm not even maybe we were more ignorant as a society back then, and the ability to research what they were telling us was almost non-existent, especially when it concerned things that transpire outside of the country. So we were wholly dependent on the news reporters giving us every bit of information. Now, with the proliferation of cell phones and cameras everywhere across the planet, we don't have to depend on the news to report what's going on. And then when we do watch the news, some they don't always they rush to tell the story first as opposed to rushing to tell the story accurately. And they plaster it all over the headlines in the beginning. And if they're wrong, a little blip goes at the bottom of the screen, scrolls across the screen. We said so and so, but we were absolutely wrong about that. My bad. And nobody notices that. If you're going to do something when you are wrong, you gotta have that same energy as when you reported it the first time. And me, I'm going to give it a few minutes or so. Oh, okay. He says he's backstage. Uh, I don't see you, bruh. And let me see. You know what? This is what we'll do. Give me 1 second, and we will do it this way. Because maybe he has the wrong link. And to verify that, yeah, he just told me that. So, because I'm not seeing you backstage at all, which I should be able to. You would come up immediately, and it could be that I'm just an idiot. That happens. No, 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 no. My bad, but I was just hello. Yeah, I'm actually live currently. Uh huh. And you know what? I do apologize for the confusion and the the delayed start, but I guarantee you it'll be absolutely worth the wait. When I talk about legends, like Paul Stewart is the legend that you didn't know was so legendary. Wait, where you going, bro?
Wait. Coming.
I was giving you the intro of the millennium.
Go. Sorry about that.
You all right, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, no, no. The honor is mine, man. And I do apologize for the mix-up.
No worries.
It happens though. How's your family, bro?
Like that Malcolm X. Oh, everyone's good, man. Everyone's good. Thank you
Oh,
for
you
having.
talking about right? You talking about right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got a little hodgepodge. My dad painted that. He was a painter. My middle daughter painted that one. Let's see. And I'm from Detroit, so got to
Deep.
rep Michigan a little bit. That's just some random shit that we got up there. Anyway, I was telling Rita, I'm doing my little research or whatever, and I'm going through old interviews that you've done, and
Oh, thank
and
you.
and and I'm like, how the fuck do I not know this guy?
I'm in the cut. I stay in the cut a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm more low key a little bit. You know what I mean? In my day, in my prime, I was doing a lot of stuff. But my thing was promoting artists, and always promoting artists. So I don't need to be so much in the front. So some people miss me. You know what I mean? And you know, I've been kind of on the side, in the background, doing music supervision stuff for a long time. Been really focused on that after I kind of got out of the big like discovering rapper mode I was in for a few years.
Okay, now the music supervision. I know you did Hustle and Flow,
Yeah.
Fast and Furious.
Poetic Justice was the first movie I ever did. I did the barbershops. More recently, I worked on Snowfall for quite a few seasons. I worked on Insecure. Uh, I worked on this show with Offset that just came off HBO Max, called The Hype. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I got like 70 credits, man. I mean, like, I've done a lot of movies. Like I said, starting with Poetic Justice, I've been doing music supervision ever since then.
Yo, what was Tupac like?
Cool as fuck.
Okay, you got to give me more. You got to give me more than just cool as fuck. Like, did you get a chance to
I
hang
haven't
out with Pac?
Crazy story is John Singleton took me and Tupac to Freaknik after he rapped Poetic Justice. So we were like the three of us were hanging out. So I got to hang out with him a lot there. And when I was managing Coolio, I ran into him at the studio a fair amount. We sometimes all recorded Echo Sound. But shout out Tupac, man. I mean, he was super intelligent. He was many sided. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like this was like people were coming up to him and calling him Bishop in Atlanta from the Juice era. So this was like really before, the real like gangster Tupac era came in. That's when I was like, spending time with him or whatever. And, he was like, you know, honored like to be around John, but at the same time, like he would, he wasn't like bowing down to nobody. You know what I mean? He was
Yeah.
opinionated. Like we was in the back of the limo driving around for a lot of the weekend, and so yeah. And just the funny story too is that he was playing Biggie's song had just come out, first song ever, Party and Bullshit, and he was playing that shit to death. Like the whole weekend, he was murdering that song like over and over.
Yo, that's the tragedy of that situation is how cool they were.
Right,
You know,
right.
and unfortunately, the people that hurt you the most are the ones you love the most. I was at that Freaknik too.
You said you went to Freaknik?
Oh, I went to Freaknik twice.
Yeah, this was at the height of it.
Yeah, I went. What was that? 94,
Yeah, 93, 94. We went.
93, 94. Yeah.
I
Oh
forget.
my god.
I got to figure it out, but yeah, it was legendary.
All
So
right. So resume wise, PMP. You started that. Your first job was at Delicious Vinyl. You started DJing in college. Grew
yep.
up in Crenshaw. You grew up in Crenshaw. Not a
One
good. Now
place.
people
You're right
from
now. We're in the Crenshaw district right now.
and from my understanding, like there's a good part of Crenshaw.
Yeah, I'm from the good part. Yeah, it's a really nice part, actually. Yeah. I mean, this is how crazy it is, and how the diversity of what you see growing up in my neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
particularly exactly where I was. On my block, I had a black judge, I had a black brain surgeon, I had a black NFL superstar. Deacon Jones lived next door to me, and then but we're like literally like spitting distance from the jungles. Training Day, that neighborhood that they, those blocks they show on Training Day. That's like
Mm-hmm.
right there. That's right next borders up to my neighborhood. You know what I mean? So, you're affected by that neighborhood, but you're not in it. You know what I mean? And you're also
Yeah.
right next to Lamert Park. You're in the whole Crenshaw. You know what I mean? So it was really unique place for me to grow up. I was really blessed. My dad was crazy about the house when like white people were moving out, like there was a stampede. I mean, like white flight was in full, heavy rotation, and he decided to buy a house in the neighborhood, and it just affected me greatly. When I was in high school, I started hanging out with cats that were like kind of from Nipsey's neighborhood, not gangbangers or nothing, you know what I mean? But like
Mm-hmm.
cats from that neighborhood, and they were putting me up on Mad Game and music and everything, and that just really influenced me to start getting into black music, and then I started DJing, and then I found my spot, in the space in the industry.
And I ask people this all the time. When did you fall in love with hip hop?
First time I heard it, I mean, damn, like I'm old, man, so it was like I was
I
around
mean,
before.
look at me, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I'm around before there was hip hop, right? So when I was in high school, I heard it and I was just like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And it just like blew my brain back. And there was like, levels of it. Like when I first started DJing, I was playing a lot of it, but we're also playing a lot of like other kinds of music.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, in LA, the whole Rick James and, like the funk thing was so hardcore. So I came from a lot of that. And then it was like new wave was popping. We were playing like Madonna and, all kind of shit like that and all kind of music. And then hip hop just at one point closer just took over. You know what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
like, I remember when Run DMC came out, that was for me just kind of like, whoa. There were moments, the first time I heard Eric B and Rakim, like, whoa.
That was crazy right there with Eric B. When Rakim came out, Rakim was like an alien, just dropped,
All
just
day.
flew
I
by.
could I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, that dude. And for me, EPMD.
Oh, me too. That's funny you say that. Me too. I remember right where I was, there was a little record store in San Francisco because that's where I would go to San Francisco or Oakland to buy records because I was in school in Northern California. Bobby G, Soul and Disco, and it was hilarious because it was this old white man and it was like white hair, and he would be playing the jams. And like, it's a time where like you play something in the store and then you buy it, right? And I walked in there one time and he was playing You Got to Be Chill, You Got to Chill or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck is this, Bobby? I need this, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I remember first when I heard EPMD, the way they use the samples and everything too. Yeah, it was like
It was
so.
crazy.
Same with like you say, like with Eric B, it was like that era of hip hop. The way they were using the samples just like really drew me in. You know what I mean? To like, and made me appreciate soul music later as I started to realize what they were sampling and stuff.
And what's crazy is like I was listening. You said your first apartment, you lived in the apartment building with DJ Aladdin.
Yeah, these were crazy apartments because they were like on Sunset near like Normandy, and it was very hood at that time. Like that part of Hollywood that there was
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of activity outside the front door. But it was just it was like for poor upcoming people that lived in it, and it was a joke that everyone who lived in this building, because there was not that many apartments in it, was either like they said was either like a hip hop dude, a heavy metal dude, or a stripper or something like that. There was like some kind of joke, but it was like trashy. I remember people would put like it was like the kind of apartment complex where people would leave like the carts from supermarkets in the bottom. I mean, it was janky. It was a janky neighborhood, but the apartment where Aladdin lived was legendary because his roommate was DJ Muggs, and that's where Cypress Hill formed. But it was crazy too because they didn't have any friends, and that's when Aladdin was doing his group with WC,
Yeah, the low
low
profile.
profile, right, and Coolio,
Yo, I'm telling you, like I thought that they were the next EPMD.
low profile.
Yes.
Yeah, they were dope as hell. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's crazy because I definitely met cats there. I don't think I didn't meet Coolio there, but I met Coolio at Street Knowledge. But Doug Young is somebody I always knew. He worked with the group, and yeah, Aladdin was my homie. He is my homie, man. I haven't seen him for a minute, but cool ass dude, and Muggs too. And it was crazy because I lived 2 doors down from them in this apartment complex, and then next door to me was Prince Whipperwhip, and oh man, another old school legend lived in that apartment from New York. The guy who wrote the rhymes that they stole for Rapper's Delight. I'm blanking on it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Is that Grandmaster Cass?
Yep.
Yeah.
Kaz lived in there one time. So these apartments are crazy. My first roommate was a dude from Kumo D's group, the Triple Three or whatever the fuck.
Oh, the Treacherous Three.
Treacherous Three. Yeah, I lived one of the other dudes from that group in there. It was like hip hop, like it was crazy. But it was real grimy. But Whip used to sell weed, and me and Muggs used to piece up on his little dime bags. They're dubs, and they were tiny. Used to talk shit. But all we had to do was walk in the store and like bang on his window, and he just opened his window. It was so convenient. You know what I mean? You gotta understand
So,
this.
what was a young Cypress Hill
Marijuana,
like?
so there were no dispensaries or anything, kids. So anyway.
What, what was a young Cypress Hill like?
Oh,
Did
no.
you? But matter of fact,
No,
hold on.
Son Doobie was
Before
part
you
of it
answer that,
too. And Son Doobie was part of it too at the beginning.
did you see what they would? Did you see the greatness in them early on, or did they just look like another rap group?
I did see the greatness in them. And also, I seen Muggs form them, and Muggs had this crazy idea for him, and Son Doobie was really dope. And I think a lot of that style was kind of off his things, and he was going to be in the group. I think he kind of decided to just separate him because he was so much. He was too good or whatever, almost,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. So they took him out of Cypress Hill or whatever. I don't know if I'm fucking up the story, but this is kind of how it was told to me at one time. And anyway, I think B Real grew so much as an artist, man. Like I seen old tape with B Real. He was kind of just starting to rap. You know what I mean? It was like, I'm sure he'll say himself, and I love B Real, the greatest guy ever. Like, so, but when he was first rap, he grew a lot. And Sen was his hype dude kind of too. You know what I mean? Sen had his
Mm-hmm.
role. He was dope. He had that great voice. You know what I mean? But it really relied on B Real and Muggs' whole kind of creation of it. Yeah, it was genius. I was around. I mean, I was around because then it's crazy how much I was around Cypress Hill because then after I moved from that apartment, I lived with this guy, Skate Master Tate, and Muggs was real tight with him, and he got a lot of samples from there. And then I did street promotion on their single. So I was going out to like the swap meets with their first 12-inch and cassette single. And I seen what happened because in LA, there was a little resistance. They weren't popping at first.
Okay.
And their first single was the Funky Feel one. But the B-side was I Could Just Kill a Man. And
That
when
was
people
crazy.
flipped that B-side and started playing that B-side, it was over. And Cypress Hill just never slowed down. You know what I mean? But it took that song and I was part of the street team too. Like people are fucking with the B-side, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to take too much credit for it or whatever, but you know what I mean? But I wrote about them before anyone else wrote about them. I had to call them in the source. and they use that to help them get like a publishing deal. Where then they use that money to make a demo and get their record deal. So they credit me a little bit with helping them get their deal.
And you also had your own magazine for a brief time, and you interviewed NWA.
Yeah, and Queen Latifah. Yeah.
What was this NWA first album? NWA where they had
No,
700 people.
Cube had just left the group.
Oh,
So it was like
really?
DOC, and it was Ren and Easy E and Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre hadn't left yet, so he was still there. Yeah, yeah. It was
Oh,
Carson, Torrance or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
And
had Cube actually put out his album yet, or was this like right after he left?
probably before, right around the same time. I can't tell you. I can't tell you. Yeah.
Okay.
There's only a couple copies. I have one though of the interview, but we just I remember we said they were like, "Can we take out our guns for the picture?" And we are like, "Hell yeah!" I mean, we had a tiny magazine. There were only 2 issues. You know what I mean? Like, one the Latifah and the NWA one or whatever. But we yeah, you can take out your guns. They were like, no one's ever let us. That's crazy. So I mean, it was a little bit into their career. I don't know. They were like, no magazine ever said that's cool. Yeah.
What were they like though? Were they like
Well, I
did they
knew Easy.
was it harmonious still?
A little bit. I knew Easy a little bit. I mean, Matt McDaniel's, the filmmaker, is the one that invited me up there. I had also known Dre. I've been around Dre a fair amount. And then I worked for Cube, for a while separately. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was. I mean, I always had a really good rapport with Easy. You know what I mean? I knew some of his artists, and I was kind of like a promoter, marketing guy when he was doing Ruthless. You know what I mean? So there was like, this kind of connection. I was real good friends with his marketing promoter guy. Was like my homie and everything. You know what I mean? So I always had a great relationship with Easy. And Dre, just like the mastermind, kind of producer, not as outspoken, you know what I mean? Like, genius,
Man, the branches, the tree of NWA has created like and maybe the greatest tree in hip hop as far as artists that they produced that come out of the Dr. Dre school, the Easy E school.
Right. It
Yeah,
was so cool that I got to work for Ice Cube. I worked for Street Knowledge. So, it was a little after the NWA time. I was doing promotion on like Yo-Yo and Cam and the Lynch Mob, all of those records that came out on Street Knowledge. And that's when I met John Singleton. But it was amazing to work for Cube and get to, because he was like, like an idol of mine.
What was the temperature in LA when No Vaseline came out?
I used to DJ that shit at clubs. That shit went hard. I mean, Brick Daz was always a favorite record of mine. You know what I mean? And I used to play Cinderfella Dane to Dane. I would play that and that. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, that's some classic shit right there. Okay, so and you've helped launch.
It went hard. It was went hard. I mean, I never had no confrontation, and I probably played it mostly like later. You know what I mean? I wasn't really probably like DJing around. I'm trying to remember, but I remember that shit was scathing. I mean, I think it was just scathing. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Definitely top 3 disses in hip hop of all time. Although Common's diss towards him is actually worse in my opinion.
I used to love her.
No, the bitch in you.
Right. Isn't that song called "I Used to Love Her"? Isn't that the?
Well, I used to love her.
Is what started the controversy.
Is what started the controversy.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And then when Cube said something, Common lit him up.
Yeah.
And at the time, people, especially on the West Coast, weren't too familiar with the gang lifestyle in Chicago.
Right. This was all before we got, overexposed to it,
Yeah. Yeah. And Cube found out quickly.
Right.
Hey,
I love Cube and Common, man. They're great guys. I've had the pleasure to work with both of them. So really blessed.
Really? Oh, so you work with Common in Barbershop, right?
Yeah, and then I worked with Common on this show, Chicagoland. Like he did the theme for it. I was music supervisor on it and stuff, you know. So, but I just, as a hip hop head, man, he been seeing me out here since like, back in the day. So, I mean, we finally got to do some work together. That was cool. His manager was always a friend of mine. So
How'd you meet the Far Side?
it's a funny story. I was at the Gavin Music Convention. It was a music trade for journalists, college radio DJs, and they used to have back in the day in San Francisco, and just in a room partying. It's like 2 in the morning, something like that, and a little drinking, a little smoking going on, and then Razkaz comes up into the room with these guys, and he goes, "Hey, these are rappers. This is a group," and it's so funny. And then the guy whose room it was, DJ, said, "Oh man," he said, "this guy gets people record deals." To me, about me, and so they got in the huddle, and Lionel Brazil. I'm sorry, DJ Lionel Brazil. That's who it was. Said, "Oh, this guy gets people record deals," and then so they got in a little huddle. They came out and they did that song "Your Mama," and they were like jumping up and down on the bed in the hotel and everything, and talking about your mom made 82 burritos at Taco Bell or something. We're already faded. We were crying. That shit was all time classic. We were like, "Oh my god, who are these guys? Who are these kids?" So it was amazing. So I hooked up with them the next day. It was like 3 of them. One of them wasn't there. And then I came back to LA, and they were right in Inglewood, right up the street, from actually where I was like born. I grew up in Baldwin Hills, but I was originally in Inglewood for a couple of years when I was very young. And anyway, so I started managing them, and I got them their record deal. Shopped them around a little bit. Def Jam passed. They really wanted to be signed to Def Jam. Some other labels were interested. We ended up doing with Delicious Vinyl. Had that home feel for the kids because they were like a little crazy, the Far Side.
Delicious Vinyl had an eclectic bunch, to say the least.
Well, it was my first real job. After I had an internship at Arista, I worked at Delicious Vinyl, so I was like kind of family for me. And then just the way they ran stuff was like more like family-ish. You know what I mean? They were more like, okay, like just like their philosophy. Let me give Mike Ross a little props. Like his philosophy for making albums was like, instead of like putting this budget on it, it was kind of like, okay, here's your advance, and then let's go make the album. Like, how can you put a price on what it, Picasso price out the art he was going to use on the Mona Lisa, the paint he was going to use on the Mona Lisa. Like, I mean, it's just kind of like, you're trying to make art, trying to make something great, trying to do it efficiently in a business manner with the Far Side. Whoa. But, but that was just kind of more his philosophy. And like, I don't want to, so I just, that was always something like, that's different. You know what I mean? That was a different kind of strategy or whatever. I don't know. I just don't know if the Far Side would have happened anywhere else because they kind of needed that like hip hop type of place that really got them and understood them.
And as opposed to
some of the major labels
breaks too, yeah.
That were, at that point we're just still kind of understanding hip hop,
Okay, so Warren G. How do you meet Warren G. and how do you end up getting him his first deal?
Well, that was through John Singleton. So I'm working for Cube, like I told you, and then I'm DJing out, and I run into John Singleton, and he's impressed with what I got going on. He likes the Far Side, who I'm already managing. I invite him to this like unsigned music showcase I'm doing, and he really digs that. And at the Roxy, like some sold out shit. And he says, and at that show, at that Roxy thing, he says to me, "I want you to run my record label and music supervise my new movie, Poetic Justice." So I was like, fuck, yeah, like win, like big W, So I went from working in the 60s in Nipsey's hood to like on the lot at Sony, you know what I mean? Working for John Singleton, VP of his record label, and so working on Poetic Justice, I was in the Death Row studio. We were trying to we're supposed to get a Snoop song, which ended up being the Dog Pound song. And in that time, I met Warren, and he was like, "Hey, I got my own stuff," and he played me the song "Indo Smoke," Mr.
Oh,
Grimm, and I was like, "Oh man, we're gonna put this on the soundtrack," and we put it on the soundtrack, and we started managing Warren, and then I sent a copy of that video, the Mr. Grimm Endosmoke video, to Chris Lighty, R.I.P. Chris Lighty, what a G he was, and in the second or third verse, Warren raps. And so he hits me back and goes, "Hey, who's this other artist? Is he unsigned or whatever?" I go, "Oh, yeah, that's Warren G. He's a producer. We manage him." And all of a sudden, Def Jam's making big offers to sign Warren G. So that's how that deal came about. Next
did
thing I,
he actually save Def Jam?
who?
Warren G.
Did he say Def Jam where?
I was watching the Drink Champs episode, and
Yeah.
actually, Lyra Cohen kind of verified it too. He was just saying that now that I think about it, it's a pointless question.
Oh, that he saved Def Jam.
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah. Russell says it too. Um, yeah, because Def Jam was in this weird place where they were going in between their distributor of Sony, their original distributor, to Polygram, which would turn into Polygram Universal later. And they were out of dough, and they had a bunch of bricks. They had a long line of bricks. And then Warren came in triple platinum out the gate, just as they're like starting their new deal or whatever. So, yeah, they say it saved Def Jam because Def Jam, was in the wrong side of the books,
Mm,
was in the
wow.
red or
So
whatever.
so how did that end with Warren G and you?
What? Well, I was Warren's manager, and then Def Jam gave me a record labels deal, right, for my own for PMP,
Okay.
and Warren decided it was a conflict of interest for me to work with Def Jam and be his manager, so I stopped working with him after that point. But we're great friends for a long time, man. Great dude.
Okay. What are
He
your
went
thoughts on
with, he went with his uncle to manage him after that.
what are your thoughts on Lyra Cohen?
I learned a lot working with him.
Understood. Understood. Let's see. De La Soul first album. You helped promote that, correct?
Yes, yes, yes. That was an amazing experience. And Dante Ross, a good friend of mine who worked on that, and Tom Silverman, Monica Lynch, the whole Tommy Boy crew, and of course the group, man. You know what I mean? And Prince Paul and everybody. I mean, that was just such a life changing kind of like moment in hip hop for us, people that were big hip hop fans for a long time when that came out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So to be involved in that was incredible. I had a deal where I was like on retainer for Tommy Boy, so we did like OPP, we did Queen Latifah. That's how we got the interview. You know what I mean? Like, because I was street promoting for her first single. So we did all the Tommy Boy stuff, and that's how the relationship came with De La Soul and everything. So they're good guys that came to some like birthday parties I had and everything, and had some mutual friends that were real close to them. Did some work with Mace later. Hired him to DJ when I was at Puma doing music marketing and stuff. But just like culture shifters.
More so, would you say them or Tribe Called Quest? More as far as shifting the culture.
Musically, Tribe Called Quest, image wise, De La Soul. Like De La Soul was like the poster child, where like Tribe was in the back doing all the work. I mean, putting it, I mean, Tribe. I'm a huge Tribe fan, so I'm a little biased. But De La Soul's first album for me was kind of like that. What you were talking about, that EPMD and that Eric B thing too. It was kind of like a reinventation of the way they were using samples.
Yeah, they definitely
Pretty,
changed of how a lot of people viewed sampling.
yeah, yeah. It was just a really creative album, and just kind of, I think, like hip hop is, can be kind of like one note. Everyone's on a certain thing or whatever. So it was great to have this alternative thing that was also really funky and vibey. You know what I mean? Like as a DJ, I mean, I played Me, Myself, and I, Roller Skate. Not not a zillion of their songs. Mostly I played Me, Myself, and I. You know what I mean? Because a lot of
Hmm.
their stuff was too like,
It was out there.
yeah, yeah.
It's a lot of trippy shit.
Yeah.
I also, and actually, I think you know what? I think Tribe also changed. I think Tribe showed people the value of digging in the crates more so than any other group, and De La showed the value of using what they find in different ways. If that makes sense. All right, so who we got next? Leaders of the New School. You were the first to you did their first show on the West Coast, correct?
This is true.
Was Busta Rhymes? Did you know Busta Rhymes would be the icon that he is?
No, but you could tell he was a star for sure. You know what I mean? So it certainly wasn't hard to imagine. You know what I mean? It happening or whatever. You know, I mean, he was just like, you know, it was interesting. The group was interesting, but it did feel kind of like the Far Side. I felt kind of worked because everyone was kind of dope, but there was kind of this evenness. Like with their group, it was a little too much on Buster's shoulders to last. I felt like, you know what I mean? The other dudes came in and had their little part, but you know what I mean? And Proof's kind of in the pudding of history, possibly, you know, no disrespect to any of the other members or anything. You know what I'm saying? But like we see what Buster did, you know. So yeah, it was pretty self-evident that he was a superstar from early on from that show, from you know what I mean, from any of their shows, and you know, so yeah, big props to Buster for being a super head. I remember one time he came to my house while I was living in Mid City, and I gave him a vinyl album of Public Enemy's first album. He was pumped, man. What a hip hop head. Kind of wish I kept it, but there it was just so I was just so at least when I run into him, I'd be like, remember that Public Enemy album I gave you? You know what I mean? So at least I got that. But yeah, it wasn't meant like I think it was unsealed too or something like that. But
And you're not talking about a nation. It takes a nation. You're talking about
I want the
little
Uzi weighs a ton or whatever.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't hear that. Like I when I started coming to Cleveland, like Cleveland was like they were bumping that shit hard. My Uzi weighs a ton, and there was another one about that '98.
Yeah. Yeah, we played that. We were playing that when it came out, but it was more like for us, like we were playing that at the house. You know, the parties we were doing, it was a little more commercial than that. You know what I mean? We didn't really have parties where we played that shit. We liked it. You know what I mean? But it wasn't
a party spot.
not for what we were doing. I was in the suburbs of the Bay Area. You know what I mean? So it wasn't really quite like that. But we were certainly appreciating it and soaking it up. You know what I mean?
I mean, well, you know, Public PE didn't really make, you know, that definitely was not their stick.
No, but I did used to play a lot of Public Enemy later, like that Pete Rock remix, and like you know, because the songs that they had, they were high energy, like you know, and when it was their era too, they were like played that shit at the height of the party type shit. You know what I mean? Because they went so hard.
Oh my god, man! But they changed the game too. I'll say that. All right, so House of Pain.
Yes.
How did you run into House of Pain?
Well, I used to do this club called Water the Bush that was kind of legendary. When I say used to do, I was a part of a lot of people that were involved in the club, right?
Okay.
But it was a legendary hip hop club. Africa Islam was part of it. Ice-T was part of it. And we had all these like EPMD, Public Enemy, De La, all performed there. I don't think anyone ever got paid either. They were like doing it for a thing. But the Booyah Tribe was our security until they quit one night during a night when we were open, like quit, you know. I was a classic hip hop club, so I was involved in that. You know what I mean? And then DJ around town and stuff, and so I was known, and I was doing that street promotion for the labels at the time, right? So I would be seen at least. You know, LA's kind of was at that time. You gotta understand the whole music industry was based out of New York, and LA was pretty removed. We didn't have too many labels out here or things. You know, people like trying A&R or anything like that out here. So people were looking at me like the closest thing. You know what I mean? You know, people saw something in a young P. I was out there hustling a little bit. You know, and so Everlast came up to me when he had the House of Pain demo, and he said, "Hey." You know, Cypress Hills just kind of, they hadn't really come out yet. We're just starting to come out. They were just bubbling. And he said, I need my own manager. So I became their manager. I started shopping their demo, and I got them a deal with Tommy Boy.
Was Jump Around on the demo?
Exactly like it is now, bro.
Oh wow! So that's
And
what got them
some
signed.
labels slept on it. How crazy is that?
Who came to you and you said no, and you were wrong?
Hard to say. I mean, we had Eminem's demo, but it was just like also it was at a time where I couldn't sign anything, so I didn't want to hear it. Everybody in my office was going crazy. You know what I mean? But I already knew I couldn't. You know, it's already like Interscope was in the mix. You know what I mean? I like my label wasn't that. You know what I mean? I almost signed Tyrese. Came very close to signing Tyrese because he was an old friend. You know what I mean? But got beat out by RCA. Um, I definitely missed some shit. I ain't trying to act like I'm all super ear or whatever, but you know what I mean. But I don't. None come to mind. Not too many come to mind. You know what I mean?
Why wouldn't you sign Eminem? I don't get that. Like, why would you not even
Well, I
try?
had a deal through Loud, through BMG, through RCA, and Interscope was already interested. I don't think I even had a chance. And I had signed too many artists, and I was trying to like figure out my deal. You know what I mean? I mean,
Okay.
I, I don't think it was time for me. I didn't aggressively try to. It was like somebody. Let me rephrase this too. The demo wasn't sent to me by like Paul Rosenberg or anything like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
who I did end up meeting or whatever. But like I think shortly after that. But one of my guys brought Justin Trugman brought it into the office. So they you know what I mean. They had it, but it was like he was like, yeah, it's already kind of here and here. So I was like, yeah, that don't, you know. I remember listening to
Oh.
it and knowing it was dope. That's for sure. No hatred on that. Um,
Uh,
yeah.
I think the first thing, matter of fact, I know, "Just Don't Give a Fuck" was the first song I heard of his, and I remember calling my boy up, and I didn't even know what the kid looked like at the time,
Right.
and I remember calling my boy up like, "Bruh," and rest in peace to my guy Pop, but I'm like, "Bruh, like you gotta hear this shit."
I was pumped on him when he was first coming out too. Yeah.
Oh my
It's crazy
god.
because I can't even like remember that era now. Like it's like, and I'm always like, was it that good or was it just a little like of the era? You know what I mean? Kind of like I don't really hear people bumping those old songs like oldies that much. No, no diss or anything. You know, I could be wrong.
Um,
You know what I'm
I,
saying? Yeah, yeah. But I remember like when he was on like putting out records on like Raucous Records or whatever. Like some of that stuff. Is that what you're talking about? Some of that like mixtape stuff or whatever. Like,
no, This was the first joint because I remember I had a tape. This was the
oh,
first joint that he did with Dre and them. I don't know
oh,
if he actually did the song with them, but it
got
was
you.
the first joint that
Got
they
you.
put out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean his first shit I really liked. I mean, I liked the shit he did on Raucous Records, and I liked the first shit he did with Dre or whatever. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, no, yeah. Anyway,
And the shit he did with Young Z and them was kind of dope too. The Outsiders.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, it was a.
He had a lot of dope shit. It seemed like
Yeah,
didn't age that well, a lot of it. But
I would
no,
agree.
no
Yeah,
diss.
like,
Yeah,
and then when he got and I tell people all the time, like, M on drugs is an animal.
right,
Sober M is not the same MC.
right.
You know, and I'm rooting for you. I want you to keep your sobriety, but it's definitely at different levels.
Oh, right, 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 right. Yeah. Well, good luck to him. Let's see what he does. Let's see what he comes with next. Right.
All
It's
right,
always interesting to hear.
F. Gary Gray. What happened with him?
Oh yeah, you listen to some old interviews. Yeah. Um, we hired him to do the Fantastic Voyage video to direct the Coolio's Fantastic Voyage video, which was Coolio's first hit. If anybody doesn't know, it was the Lakeside song, and it was ended up being a big hit. And he hadn't really directed any videos yet. I don't think maybe one, maybe two, but I don't think it did anything. And it was a really big budget video too for that time. which is kind of crazy because Tommy Boy was notoriously kind of cheap and everything, you know. But and they suggested him, but we were all on board with it. I was friends with him. Coolio was friends with him. So it was like a win. And after he did the video, I was just like asking him for all the raw footage because I wanted to analyze it. I was just trying to study and learn about filmmaking more or less. I had done this with
Mm-hmm.
all the videos I had worked on with all my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he wouldn't be doing that. And I didn't take it very well.
So was that your ego?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to be careful because you never know if you're talking shit to somebody like who they're going to be later, right? So that's like I tell that story to teach people. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't make the same mistake I did. You know what I mean? I'm really into humility. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that could have been easily avoided. I could have handled that a million ways. You know what I mean? But, and then hopefully I would have been a part of Gary Gray's career moving forward as his music supervisor, since I was certainly the only music supervisor he knew. You know what I mean? Uh, uh, I had already done Poetic Justice at that point.
Yeah, and he was just getting in the game. Really, yeah, you
Right.
was poised, and F. Gary Gray has had a career.
Yeah, much love to him. He made some classics.
Yeah, he
So it was
did.
cool. I mean, I'm glad I got to work with him at that point. You know what I mean? Anyway, so uh, he came to. I remember he came to one of my birth. I got a nice picture with him on my birthday parties. It's like me, him, Fatima, the dance, the choreographer, Paula J. Parker, the actress. You know, like way back. You know, so yeah. So he's much respect to him. I've enjoyed a lot of his movies.
Coolio. What was, how did you end up running into Coolio?
That's when I was working for Cube at Street Knowledge. Like WC was like Coolio's hype man, and Coolio was like WC's hype man. So we brought him up to Street Knowledge. And as I always say, Coolio saw my white ass sitting down there in what they call the dungeon. I was in the basement, but they used to have DJ Pooh's studio used to be,
Mm-hmm.
and Gentleman Three's graphic printing place used to be, and that's where they gave me my office. And he saw me down there, and he was just like, "You're gonna be my manager." So I was managing Far Side already, and he shot me the demo that him and DJ Wino had produced, and I was instantly like impressed with the music, and I just started managing it from there.
What was that movie? Was that Dangerous Minds?
Yep, yep. Gangsta's Paradise. Yeah, they recorded that at my house later. That was a couple years later from after when I first met him. We started managing them. I started managing them with my team, and yeah, the producer was my roommate, Doug Rashid, and LV, the singer, was my client. And yeah, one day Coolio came by and he heard that beat, and they just recorded it right there.
And did you know, like right then and there, it was a classic?
No one knew. We sent it to the label. They talked. They're like, I'm not crazy about it. So I knew a couple of people that were doing movies. One of them was Bad Boys, and the other one was uh, um, the one that ended up being Dangerous Minds, and they both wanted to use it, and ended up negotiating the deal for Dangerous Minds to do it there instead of Bad Boys. Could have been in Bad Boys too, but I think Dangerous Minds put a lot more behind it. They put the actress, huge actress, in the Michelle Pfeiffer in the music video, and that kind of
Yeah.
like made it internationally different. You know what I mean?
It was as if like you thought he was in the movie.
Yeah, there was so much correlation with the movie. Like it was the height of like the song helping promote and market the movie, because they said the movie didn't test well, and then they just kind of like tried to insert the song afterwards. You know what I mean? Like it, like you say, almost as if he was in the movie or something like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, they did a really good job with that, and that's one of the reasons that we went there, because the offer was the same for Bad Boy. Like it was both Simpson Bruckheimer movies. They wouldn't like negotiate against each other. So, and Coolio was like, "I'll let you decide." and so I picked Dangerous Minds because I thought they were going to promote it harder. I thought we'd do more business with them, with that company, and we did.
Wow, that's a lot of faith to put in you. Because I don't think just looking back at both movies, it just would it would have been
Oh
a song
man, you know what
we
I mean?
wouldn't
Like,
know about
why
it on
would we have
Bad
gone with
Boys.
Bad Boys? You know what I mean? It seemed way cooler.
The
Yeah,
movie was cooler, but the symbiosis was not would not have been the same. Like I can't think of Dangerous Mind without
I
that
could have
movie.
easily gone the other way, and man, that song might have never blown up. You know what I mean? Too,
Yeah,
or been like way different how much it blew up. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I made the right call that time, and I was blessed to have a client that like put it in my
that
hand.
listen. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
what the documentary has it come out yet?
No, we're still working on it, but we're talking to some exciting people. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, man, I was looking at the
There's
trailer
two
is
trailers. Yeah,
freaking
yeah.
phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Samuel Marcus, man, really talented guy. Marcus Thorrington, I guess his filmmaker name. Sorry. Um, Super dope guy. Made the first trailer for me and then the remix intro that we dropped more recently. And got a lot of big interest from him. So, yeah, working on it. Think we'll make it happen soon. So just trying to do it the right way, the
I
right place.
understand that.
Yeah,
How'd you meet Snoop?
do Poetic Justice. Working on Poetic Justice.
Boy, that movie was a gold mine for you, huh?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, damn, it was Poetic Justice, man. It was like my first movie. I'm working with Pac and Janet Jackson. You know what I mean? I mean, John, we had a meeting up at his offices with Suge, Dre, and Snoop. So that was probably the first time I met Snoop.
Was Suge as
Snoop
advertised?
was cool with Coolio too. So I mean, I ran into him like in Hollywood. So, but it was as soon as I started working with Warren, that's what kind of endeared Snoop to me because the history. Warren got kind of shit on when the death row thing happened, and then I came in and got him the deal. So, so Snoop, I think, gives me a lot of love for that. And I did it in a cool way. You know what I mean?
I mean, well, somebody else that seems to have gotten not the, he got the love, but not necessarily the career was Nate Dogg,
R.I.P. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Definitely rest in peace to him. Why
yeah.
not?
Um, I think that there were a lot of superstars on his label that were kind of like taking the resources maybe and time away maybe from him. I don't know. Maybe he didn't have Dr. Dre to help craft. You know what I mean? Maybe he needed maybe the right producer to help like craft his projects the right way, his art the right way. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
his contributions through like other people's features and hooks is like
Ridiculous.
ridiculous, right? But then his own body of work is kind of slim compared to that. You know what I mean? In comparison to that, I would say. So yeah, I think just kind of like he didn't have the right artist development or production kind of team to guide him maybe to like present his thing correctly.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with Death Row, him, RBX, and the Lady of Rage just got the short end of the stick.
Right. Yeah.
And Rage was like, man,
There was so much talent there. Yeah, some of it didn't get to develop correctly. You know what I mean? I think,
yeah, Eve was smart to leave.
yeah, for sure. Right. In
She,
retrospect, right? For sure.
yeah, yeah, she did the best thing for her, and end up having a phenomenal career. Um, what you doing currently?
Working on some philanthropic stuff in the Crenshaw community and in the barrios of Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, where I've been spending some time. So music supervising, shopping music for Sync, doing consult for indie artists about sync, mainly about all kind of things, but primarily about how to get their music synced.
if somebody wants to come, if they want to get involved with getting their music synced, just a random
Yeah,
person that just makes good music but doesn't have
yeah.
any connects, how would they go about getting in contact with you?
Instagram. They can DM me on Instagram. Paul underscore DJP underscore Stewart. It's probably tagged maybe in something you guys post or whatever. But yeah, hit me up on Instagram and send me a DM. I definitely read those and follow up. And yeah, I have a great service right now where I'm helping a lot of indie artists get their first placements or get placements.
Is there a certain song? I mean, a certain sound you're looking for, or just
No,
doesn't make a difference?
we need everything. I mean, I if I start working with you, I can see what you do and coach you how to, build
Hmm.
towards things that'll be more placeable than others. But it's a little broad because we have needs for everything. As long as it's good what you do at that,
Is it lucrative?
it can be one of the best ways for indie artists to make money right now. One of the most reliable and realistic ways for a lot of indie artists to make music. It's a bit of a hard nut to crack, but if you get in there,
How about people that do scores?
it's a great space for producers, or composers like that have been doing it. Yeah, I mean, it's crowded space. It's a great space though. It's something I work with all the time. Every film has a score, every TV show. Not most, a lot of TV shows I work on have composers, not all of them.
How about jingles? So I'm just throwing it out there now at this point.
Yeah, I don't work in that space really. I work, so much like ads and promos and commercials, but not really jingles. Not really something I deal with.
I always wanted to make commercial. I always wondered how they go about, like, like what's the process for a commercial. I mean, I kind of know, they go to an ad company. The ad company, makes up something they think will be a good commercial, takes it to the whatchamacallit. But like, like, are people literally just sitting in a room just tossing ideas around? Is that easy?
It's easy if you're the right people in the right room.
Well, apparently, I need to get in better rooms because my basement is not doing the trick.
Right. And the commercial ad stuff is tricky. But definitely, man, anybody that's trying to get syncs, I recommend they hit me up. And I'm offering specials and stuff, right now through the season. Uh, and I've been helping a lot of artists get syncs, a lot of producers get syncs. So, there's a bit of a science to it. So, I can explain all that to you pretty cost effectively. And then where you take that information is on you, you know. And if you have good stuff, then you can give it to me too, and I can also try to help place it. So,
All right.
yeah.
I'll let I'm not talented in that area.
Oh yeah, but
Um,
spread the word. Yeah, spread
I
the
will
word.
absolutely let people know. And if there's anything I can possibly do for you, I'm not sure what, but if there is, you say the
Well,
word and I got you.
well, thanks for having me on your platform, man. So I
Thank
appreciate
you, man. It's been an
it.
honor.
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
for the mix up earlier.
No worries, man. Well, have a great evening. I think we went the hour, so I figure we're wrapped. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to touch on, or did you have any last questions or anything you wanted to go, or
No,
we're
I
good?
got
Good,
I
yeah.
got I got to get. I'm old, man. It's about it's peak old man hours.
Hey, okay. Well, appreciate you having me. Everyone knows how to reach me if they want to reach me, and you have a good evening, man. We'll talk soon, okay?
You too, man. Stay in touch, man.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
You too. Yo, that was pretty dope. And yo, no, we didn't know Buster Rhymes was going. I thought Buster Rhymes' career underperformed for what I thought he was going to be, especially but when he did Scenario. Like, I don't know if you're still listening, LeBron, but when he did Scenario, everybody knew that Buster Rhymes was a superstar in the making. That was not a surprise. When you first heard M on the Wake Up Show when Guru was there, it was going back and forth. You know what? I did have one more question. I forgot to ask him about Big Boy from L.A., but oh well. Nate did not only do hooks. Nate made songs too. They just did not fare well. Nate made an album. I know one for sure that I remember. I don't remember the name of it, but I know that if I, it might be the wine, but I'm pretty sure Nate Dogg made a whole album. But Nate Dogg is an absolute treasure, especially as far as the hooks go. And it's just sad that the bruh couldn't really, get that space as far as, a solo career. Although it seemed that he did pretty well with the hooks and he made a good living. But I think he did, kind of want more. The Lady of Rage though, man, it was just, will go down in hip hop history as one of, if not the biggest, what if. I think Dr. Dre, for whatever reason, he really, really dropped the ball with her, and unfortunately ruined her career. Damn. Anyway, on that note, man, I definitely want to say thanks again